everybody. Debra Dickinson here. Thank you for being on my channel today. I have a very special interview. Now, I know the person that you are about to meet. For most of my viewers, it is no surprise, and you probably think you know him well, but we do have some surprises today, so stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. And like I said, you probably know this guy, but you are going to get to know some things about him today that I hope maybe is new to you. And I haven't seen him for a while. I am very happy today to introduce Robert Witham. Hi, Robert.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me today, Debra.
Yeah, I love modern technology, and I know I should probably look at the camera, but I have to look at him on screen. So you'll see me looking back and forth between the camera and the screen, but I want to be able to see you. And I love modern technology that brings us together, because tell everybody where you are right now.
Yeah, well, first I've had the same problem because I'm looking at you because you're talking to me and then not looking at the camera. So I'll try to look at the camera too, folks. I am in Wyoming right now, northeast Wyoming, about 1,000 miles away exactly from where Debra's at.
And I'm actually where you left me, because I'm still in, at the time of filming this, still in the Pahrump, Nevada area. Now, by the time my wonderful viewers see this, I will be on the road and doing my summer travel. But what was that, Robert? Yes, a big applause and a whole bunch of fingers crossed. Because I won out of here. It's like 100 degrees today already. So let's start there, Robert. Tell them what the weather's like there in Wyoming where you are.
Well, I was driving up and my granddaughter called me and said, "Gee, you're going to be here for my soccer game." So of course, kiddo. Oh, good. And it's going to be 85 degrees, Pops. Well, it's the 1st of May. It's going to be 85 in Wyoming. Are you kidding me? Well, it was, and it was set for Saturday, the day after, and then it dropped into the 50s. And we're just now starting to trend back up into the low 60s. So it's it'll warm up eventually, but yeah, it does that out here. It does the yo-yo thing out here a lot in spring and fall.
And on your granddaughters, your grands, their first ever softball game, one of your granddaughters walked you through what they had to do for clothing. I want you to share that story because it was hilarious.
The oldest, 8 years old, their first softball game was this past Monday as we're recording this, so a few days ago, second week in May, I guess. And it was cold, and the game was at 8 o'clock at night, started at 8 o'clock at night. So they're playing under the big lights. The parents are all annoyed. The oldest granddaughter, the 8-year-old, told me, "Pops, all the girls on my team, that's their bedtimes." I don't doubt it, kiddo. So, but it was cold. So she called me before the game. We're going to have to wear sweatshirts under our uniform shirts. So that means we have to take off our uniform shirt and put on a sweatshirt and then put our uniform shirt back on over the sweatshirt. Just in case, apparently, I didn't know how you wore a sweatshirt under your uniform shirt.
Well, it was new for her, which means it had to be new for everybody else, right?
Apparently.
That's awesome. And I know that you're enjoying being there with your family, and I want to get into some Nomad and some travel things for everybody. But you've already well, actually, I guess you're going to the official birthday party this weekend. But I know you're glad that you're there and you're with all of your family, 3 kids and 4 grandkids, and hopefully your other son and his wife and other granddaughter will join you for a while this summer too. So
we're hoping.
Very
They're
happy.
tentatively planning on it, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about being a nomad. When things work out, we can go where we're needed to be, go where we want to be, and I'm happy for you that you're there. One of the things that people might not realize is that you've got 4 kids, and there's an acronym that they go by that you actually have a tattoo of. What is that?
Oh, I do. It's 4 J's. Their names all start with J, and there you go.
There you go.
I get it in the camera if I go the right way. So
there you go. Perfect. And the 5 hearts I gave to you for your 50th birthday. To add to it.
So that was, or was Father's Day and birthday or something? I don't remember.
I think Father's Day was the 4 J's. I don't remember, but then we added the 5, or the other way around, 5 hearts for your 50th. But
Yeah,
oh yeah,
however it
maybe
worked
the
out,
whole thing.
Deborah gifted it to me. So
Yeah, but I just love it, and you designed it, and the tattoo artist pulled it off beautifully. But I'm so, it's so funny that I can't remember. So the 4 J's, and that's where you're with at least 3 of the 4 right now. So I think that's going to lead me into, and you don't know what questions I'm going to ask you. So, but you do edit my videos. So I'm going to tell you right now, you can't edit out something just because you don't like that I asked you. You can't do that.
yeah, I don't
But
know, and I actually was a little nervous in the introduction when you were saying about some of the surprises. I'm going, oh boy, what's she going to ask me?
yeah, I know. We'll start with something soft and easy. So what is your favorite thing other than being able to be with your family, and like you were able to go and help take care of your grandfather this winter before he passed? Other than that, what is your favorite thing about being a nomad?
Oh man, yeah, that is huge. And I actually made a video several years ago about the thing I like the most and the worst, or the best and the worst part of being nomad or something. And that was the gist of
Yeah,
it. Was the worst part is you're away from family oftentimes. The best part is you can be near family. And yeah, and sometimes that comes up where you're able to move around. And so yeah, I have like family here and family in New York, Massachusetts, and friends in the desert or whatever. So that's really
yeah,
great. That is really convenient, and a benefit too, as well as being a difficulty. Beyond that, I think it's just seeing new places. I just love, always have had just a taste for getting on the road and going down the highway and seeing what's to be seen over the next hill or around the next bend, and that's something I really enjoy about being a nomad, taking a different routes, different highways, different back roads on the same trip I've already done, just to see different things.
yeah.
I love that.
Oh, good deal. And we will link for viewers down below any videos that we talk about. So let's be sure and link that video where you talked about the advantages and disadvantages. And also, even though you are a father of 4 and grandfather of 5, you are only in your 50s. And we are going to talk about you still working, because you're not retired and you're not on disability or anything. You make your living on the road, and we will talk about that in a minute. But you have a wonderful video out about why I decided to become a nomad early. Talk
Oh
a little
yes.
bit about that, but we will link it for everybody below to watch in its entirety.
Okay, well, I'm going off the top of my head here because I made that video a couple years ago.
I know.
I
Well,
don't
I think
remember everything I
more.
said in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's why I became a nomad in my 40s or something to that effect,
Hmm.
because I was still not even 50 yet when I made it. Sadly, well, aging beats the options, right?
That's right. That's
But
right.
yeah, the gist of it is, and the big thing was, for example, my late wife Terry. She was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer when she was 40 years old, and she fought that heroically for 4 years, and we had access to some amazing innovative treatments, and that made a big difference. But ultimately, the disease just won, and that just brought really close to home what I've seen too many other times as well. That is that so many people, yeah, they're doing a job they hate or living somewhere they don't want to live. They're not doing the things they really want to do because whatever, and too many people, by the time they get to retirement, either they don't have the health, or they don't make it to that age. Maybe they die before that. They don't have the health if they
Yeah.
do make it, or they don't have their financial situation changes, and they can't do what they want to do in their golden years.
Right.
And so Terry and I had planned to RV. Took me a long time after losing her to get back to where I could embrace this lifestyle again. But that was kind of the big thing, is, none of us knows what's coming. None of us
Yeah.
knows if we're going to make it to that mythical retirement age, or if we do,
Yeah.
what our situation is going to be. So if there's things we want to do, I know sometimes we have family responsibilities, and sometimes we have other commitments, and it may take a little time to get things sorted out. It took me
Yeah.
years to get the details sorted out. My kids grown, get freelance work, side work lined up to I can pay for support myself. So it may take time, but why not move towards it and do it while we can? Yeah, whether it's being a nomad or something else, it doesn't matter. This isn't for everybody, but whatever it is you want to do, I mean, try and do it while you're young enough to be, you have the health to be able to do it.
If at all possible. And Tim Untethered actually shared that same thing when I interviewed him. And so that's good advice. And thank you for sharing some of your story. And again, we'll link the full video in its entirety below. Now, right now, you are in Fancy Free, my former van, and there's a tour coming there. Yeah, but there is a tour coming up tomorrow because you have pretty much completely, don't give away any secrets today, because I want everybody to watch the video tomorrow of the tour of what you have done with Fancy Free. And so everybody be sure and stay tuned and tune in for that tomorrow. You can see a little bit back there of what he's done, but we'll have the full tour tomorrow. And when I first met you in 2016, you were in a Toyota Camry. And you've had a minivan, a cargo trailer. Did I get those in reverse? I got those in reverse. It went from a Toyota Camry to the cargo van to the minivan, and then we were together for a while in Fancy Free, and now you're back in her solo and revamped her completely for you.
With the Toyota Echo in the middle there too, in between together and Fancy Free. And
oh, that's true, but you weren't actually living in the Echo.
Part-time anyway, because sometimes we travel different places or.
That's true. And that will lead me to a question I'm going to ask you in a minute about being a nomad in different ways. But out of those rigs, and I'll talk more about something else about ways to be a nomad, but out of those rigs, what has suited you best?
For me, it's the full-size van. I don't remember if you mentioned or not, I had a 1993 Ford van before this one.
Oh gosh, I forgot all about it.
I forgot that when you were making the list.
So let's see if I can get this right. And if I don't, you correct me, okay, Robert?
If I can remember this time.
Yeah. How embarrassing. Poor Val and Greg. They're probably like, hey, what are we? But all right. So 2016, I met you. You were in the Toyota Camry. And then we got the cargo van because you started working for Bob, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then we were together in Fancy Free and had the Toyota Echo, kind of a combo there. Then you were in the Ford conversion van,
right? Yep.
Old Gray, and now you're back in Fancy Free solo. So and each one of those, I know they had their pros and their cons, but which one has suited you best?
Probably, all things told, this one right here, second best would be the gray van. And there's some trade-offs there. The gray van had the high top, which was really nice. This one's got a heavier suspension and everything, more weight capacity, more towing capacity. So, but yeah, even without the high top, this has been just fantastic. There's always trade-offs, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, there's really always trade-offs. And I go in my head still to this day, sometimes 6 years into this, well, maybe I should add a trailer. Maybe I should have the tow behind car. Maybe whatever. I mean, because but all around the full-size van, whether it's the gray van, this one, whatever, it gives me the most versatility. These things are beasts. You put good tires on them, and you can drive and get a lift. The gray van had a lift in it. This one just sits higher, period, because of the suspension in it. I can get down designated 4x4 trails all the time. I mean, and I also can park in a parking spot.
You did that even in the minivan. You were in Moab in the minivan, going up trails that 4x4 Jeeps were going. What is he doing up here?
Follow Bob Wells up to Rock Pass in Moab. He was in old van, and we were, yeah, doing some filming up there. So,
Yeah.
but
And we're
yeah,
going to talk
I
about
did.
your career and how you're making a living on the road in a minute. But here's one of my surprise questions. I'm going to see if you can guess, if you can remember. In 2016, when we met, you were in the Toyota Camry and you were following somebody online that was getting ready to do a cross country trek and had invited people to join them. And it was a different kind of being a nomad. And you were seriously jonesing and gearing up to do that. Do you remember
Oh
what that
man,
was and who I'm talking about?
I had long since forgotten about that, but now that you mention it, I do remember that was a cross country bicycle tour with
Yeah.
some kind of awareness thing associated with it. I don't remember the details, but yeah, I was looking at joining a group of. I forgot all about that cross country
Yeah.
bicycle.
And you seriously wanted to do that and were going to do that, but work kind of got in the way because you got a fantastic job offer, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But that leads me to, you've had all these rigs. You were seriously gearing up to do a cross country trek on bicycle with this group, and you always say there are a million different ways to be a nomad. You had
Totally.
considered keeping the Toyota Echo and just cross country in hotels or tent camping, and which you both of us have also done. What if you could wiggle your nose and be a nomad and see the things that you want to see and know that it was possible? What would it be?
Oh man, I don't see myself right now at least going the whole RV thing, even if it was an option. Um, I just love the simplicity of and the flexibility of a van. I might though consider another thing I might consider would be going with an SUV like a Toyota 4Runner
Yeah.
with maybe a rooftop tent and tricked out for some serious backcountry. And then I would have to use hotels and stuff more frequently, um, just because it's not as comfortable to work. I mean, I have a 5 foot desk in the back of this van that I'm sitting at right now that, you know, it's just wonderful to set the laptop on and hard drives and all the other miscellaneous stuff you got to have to do what I do for work. So I would that would be hard if I was in the SUV. So then I would probably end up doing more um, hotels and stuff when I was in towns. So it's
Okay.
probably kind of a toss up between those, I think.
Yeah, we both like getting backcountry and that the 4x option. I always say earth roamer, and you always say that would even be too big for you. So I wasn't surprised that you chose a smaller 4x4 and doing that option that way.
I say that I wouldn't rule out either getting a 4x4 kit installed, a conversion done on this van. They're not
Yeah,
cheap, but the
yeah,
price of vans anymore, I mean, you get a good
Bruce,
4x4
Bruce,
conversion, you can go anywhere. I mean, so
yeah.
that's an option too.
All right, so that kind of leads me to, you were gearing up to go cross country bicycle riding. And you went with me to Leadville, Colorado to camp with some friends of mine, which included Bob Wells, Randy Vining, and
Yeah.
Scott and Yoli, and some others. And while we were there, you do freelance work. You do videography, photography. You're a publisher for a quarterly magazine. You help people publish books. You're my publisher. You have a myriad of jobs that you do as a freelance contract labor, correct?
Yeah, it's funny, but I routinely have a problem trying to explain to people what the heck I do because I have my fingers in so many pies. I always laugh and think of my late grandmother back more than a decade ago when I was doing freelance, first got into freelance writing. I was working for our local newspaper, and I was also doing freelance writing, web content, and getting it published on international companies' websites and stuff. And my poor grandmother would try and ask me, "What is it you do for work?"
What do you
And
do?
she couldn't wrap her mind around what I was doing for work those days. And I think now that poor woman would never be able to follow what I'm doing. 'Cause I can't even explain it succinctly because there's so many. I don't have a word or two for it. 'Cause I'm involved in a
Yeah,
lot of different publishing type enterprises.
that's correct. Publishing type enterprises and social media type enterprises from the backside of it, and
Most
your
of it,
own.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and your own channels. You've got two YouTube channels, both Robert Witham and Meanderings. And again, we'll put the links below, and I hope people check that out. And that reminded me when I first met you, you were also doing, in addition to freelance journalism, you were doing freelance ghostwriting for some pretty popular rags and magazines, and they were putting their names on your. It used to just burn me down because there would be all of the some that would even hit like New York Times and all this, and that you had written as a ghostwriter and were paid for that, and but I had forgotten about that you were doing that for a while. But now, as far as I know, you're not doing any freelance ghostwriting. Is that correct?
I'm not these days.
At this time,
I
not that
did
you're not
quit.
opposed to it, but just not doing it right now.
Right, yeah. It could happen again in the future. I kind of felt like video was the wave of the future, and the
Yeah.
growth was there, so that was a better place for me to put my efforts. But yeah, initially that was primarily what I was doing was the ghostwriting, and that's what I was paying the bills with and keeping gas in the tank.
Well, and that leads me back to being in Leadville, Colorado, and you got to meet my friends, and I introduced you to Bob.
Right? Yep.
And that led to a couple of major events in both our lives. Do you mind me sharing a little bit? And then I'm going to toss it back to you for you to expound on, okay?
Go for it.
Okay, all right. So Bob let us know because you were in the Camry, and that always kind of bothered Bob. I mean, even when we met in Williams and Flagstaff, he was like, "I just can't believe this guy's traveling in a Camry," and he announced to us, to you and I, that he was selling his trailer, his cargo trailer, and asked if we wanted it. And first one thing led to another, and you ended up buying it, and we left Leadville and drove to Pahrump, Nevada, where I am now, where Bob had it stored, and picked it up. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. My first
Uh,
time going to Pahrump,
that was a
and I think
crazy trip.
the weather was about like you're having right now, and we
It was
intentionally
awful.
planned it to get in early in the morning and get the heck out of there before it got too hot hauling a trailer.
Exactly. And so we did get out of here, and we actually then went to Sedona, and we camped with some friends of ours, Brian and Cindy, and Cindy has since passed, and just lovely people. And we were camped there with them when we got an interesting call from Bob. You want to tell it how? And then so we took off. So if you, everybody can follow this, we go from Leadville, Colorado, down to Pahrump to Sonona, and then we got a call, and we took off and drove practically straight through to Oregon. You want to tell the viewers about that because that leads into how Bob Wells became one of your top clients. You do contract labor for Bob, and I'm going to let you tell the story.
Yeah, that was. I think that call came in. You got that call the same day that the same morning I had to shoo a tarantula off the cargo trailer door. It was propped open with the awning out, and I look up and there's this. I'm like, ah!
And then we got the
I think that
call,
was
and
the
you were
same
like,
day.
ah, again. It was two eyes in one day.
Yeah, we did. You saw, and I said, yeah, that sounds good. And we basically dropped. I think we left like the next morning from after that
Yeah, we
call,
did. We did.
and like you said, we drove pretty much straight through, up to northeast Oregon,
North
somewhere up in the mountains.
Northeast Oregon. Yeah,
And,
he and
and
Carolyn. Yeah, he and Carolyn were camped up there. Now, I want people to know that this was during the time when Bob and Jamie had done their split, and Bob was interested in starting his own channel. Now, again, that channel now is like 500,000 people and everything, but at the time, he didn't have a channel at all. He was starting from scratch, and you and I drove all the way to Oregon to help him get that set up.
yep,
And
yep.
we camped there for quite a while, and you still to this day edit Bob's videos.
Yeah, from the first video right on up. There was a little window when we were doing Two Meander where I wasn't working with Bob for a period of months, and then
Yeah.
back at it. So yeah, I've been with him since day one.
Yeah, and then I helped him with some of the admin stuff for a while, and it's
Yeah,
just
oh yeah,
it
yeah.
and then that was in that was actually back down here after Oregon in Pahrump, and so that's just a fun history trivia thing for people that might not know that about you. So I asked you if you could wiggle your nose and have any rig, what would it be? Now I'm going to ask if you could wiggle your nose and make the income that you needed to be financially independent. And I realize that everybody wishes that they could do that, but you, because you have you like you said, you've got your feelers out and you do so many different things. What would it be, or is there one specific thing?
There's a tricky question, especially on the spot.
I thought it might be.
If I was doing one specific, if I could just magically be doing something and making my money from that, it'd probably be nature and wildlife photography and possibly some writing. Love publishing the magazine. Love photos and to some extent making videos to nature. That's my favorite ones to make are just the scenery videos. Um, with some music on them and stuff. And so yeah, if I could really nail it, tighten it down, that'd probably be it. See that stuff paying enough
Hey,
to keep gas in the tank.
yeah. So nature and wildlife photography and writing about that, and that's why you're so good at your Meanderings YouTube channel because that really shines through. So, and in case you're wondering, we will put the link up, but this is the Meanderings magazine that Robert publishes, and he allows me to write a short story in it each publication. Thank you for that, Robert. And it ties right into that nature and wildlife photography that you like to do and the writing. And speaking of writing, this is his, it says not for sale because he was kind enough to sign and give me his hot off the press of his last book, and this was your fifth book to write, but How to Be a Successful 21st Century Nomad. And this is actually taken right off of a highway that we stood in the middle of, and you took the picture of.
Needles, California.
Needles, California. And so
Right by the Rving house.
Exactly. And so in all of the stuff that we talked about of how you make a living on the road, we didn't even mention that you publish books, but that is your fifth book. And before we close, and I want everybody, please, if you have any questions for Robert, you can contact him. That information will be below, but you can also list your questions below. And he has agreed to keep an eye out for comments and answer them. And thank you for that, Robert. And thank you for being on my channel and for letting me surprise you, because I know you don't like surprises. And but I wanted people to know more about you than I think that really they might have known before. Is there anything that you want to add before we close?
Nothing I can think of.
Not that you want to, I think is
Right.
probably well, and for people that they talking about can't keep up. I don't think we can close without addressing that we started off as friends, we became a couple, we stayed friends. We were even engaged for a short period of time, but we love each other very much and will always be friends, no matter what. And friends doesn't even seem to quite capture it, but I know people are going to ask, and so I wanted to address that. And you probably especially don't want to say anything around that, but is there anything that you would like for people to know on that? Because everybody has been kind of like your grandmother keeping up with your career. They're kind of like, we can't keep up.
I think you summed it up well.
Okay, good deal. Well, thank you again for joining me today and for helping me learn this new software. I look forward to interviewing more people now that you've taught me this. And that's another thing that you do is you don't do it currently for a living, but you can write code and anything.
I used to.
Yeah,
I used to do that for a career.
I know. So anything computer wise and software wise, and I just think you're genius. And thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So what do we always say?
We'll see you down the road.
And keep on keeping on, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Bye.